Hey there YouTube, Shed41 here coming to you today with a tabletop review and a novice shooter's take on what I believe to be the finest production 1911 on the market today. That's right, take it all in. That is the Smith & Wesson 1911 SC E-Series, or some people call it the E-Class. Is it in a class all its own? Well, that's for you to decide. But again, I want to give you my take. And before we go any further, I do want you to see that the gun's been safety checked. There's no magazine in it. The gun has been cleared. So everything's good to go. Now, let's give credit where credit's due. I know about this gun because of my watching and enjoying weaponseducation.com's channel here on YouTube. Tom runs a terrific channel there. Tons of great reviews, not only on this gun. Actually, I think he's got 2 or 3 videos just on this one firearm. So I will attribute most of what I know about this gun, and it's actually the fact that I know about it at all because of his reviews. So go check him out at weaponseducation.com. Tom's a great United States citizen that believes in our Second Amendment rights. He fights for those rights, and he's got a passion for the shooting sports and really believes in concealed carry. So I know you do too, or you wouldn't be here watching my video today. So let's talk about in depth what's going on with this sexy weapon. And I really do believe that Smith & Wesson has really knocked the cover off the ball when you're talking about a premium production 1911. So what does SC mean when we're talking about the SC? You can see here on the slide, the SC E-Series. SC stands for scandium. That is the actual proper chemical name. It is a natural occurring element. It's a precious metal. It's only mined in a few places in the world. So you might say, all right, that's one of those big fancy production words that means nothing. No, scandium is the real deal. And what Smith & Wesson has done is they've taken and added a small amount of scandium to their aluminum when they construct this frame and make an alloy. So it's an aluminum scandium frame. Essentially, the scandium strengthens the aluminum, but also provides the continuation of a very lightweight material. So as far as an everyday carry, 1911, this is a commander size gun, yet only weighs 29.5 ounces empty. Now, if you compare that to a full stainless steel version where you have a stainless steel slide, stainless steel frame, depending on the gun and the manufacturer, you're gonna realize an 8 to even 12 ounce savings in terms of weight. Now, to the layman, 8 to 12 ounces doesn't sound like very much, but for those of us that carry every day, and we're carrying that on our person, on our waistband, inside the waistband, that is a huge amount of weight difference. That's the difference to me in making this a carry option and it not being an everyday carry option. Now, I carry the gun in a Galco. This is a silhouette high-ride holster. So I wear this outside on the waist. Now they also make one called the Galco, just a high-ride holster. So it's very similar. Goes in, gives it kind of an FBI cant. It does have a thumb brake here, so the gun can be carried cocked and locked. Now this isn't a custom holster. This is Galco leather, but it does the trick. It can accommodate a 3-inch all the way up to a full 5-inch version. And I'm able, with the right garments on, wearing my shirt tail out, I'm able to conceal this gun pretty easily. So there's a carry option for you. It's also light enough to where if you want to carry it with a shoulder holster rig, it's going to be very comfortable for you in that respect. Now let's get into the nuts and bolts about what I think make this gun special. So we've talked about the frame. It's aluminum scandium, so it attributes to the lightweight carry option that this gun has. Go into the grips. Let's go ahead and take a close look at those beautiful factory grips. That's a laminated rosewood, and you'll see the E-Series moniker on there from Smith & Wesson, and a classic checkering that's reminiscent of a lot of checkering you've seen on some of your Smith & Wesson revolvers. So a really classic look, and with the color combination of the black, the rosewood, and then the satin stainless finish on the slide, I really think this makes for a great just a great looking, a sexy 1911 that you'd be glad to show off. I saw somebody on YouTube call it their barbecue gun, and I think that's very appropriate. A gun that when you have your friends over and you're having a cookout and you're all gun enthusiasts, that you can take out and show off, because this is a beautiful, beautiful piece. Now, for me, I wanted a gun that looked great, but I also wanted a gun that was going to be functional. So this isn't a top shelf gun safe gun for me. This is a gun that I want to use and I want to keep on my person. So there we go. We've talked about the grips, but let's go ahead and take another look at another feature that really makes it a great carry option. Is this curved or bobbed grip? As Ed Brown calls it on his Cobra Carry, it's the bobtail. So you can't really call it a bobtail because Ed Brown has patent on that, but that's essentially what it is. You'll see some other manufacturers that have that feature. The SIG makes the Nightmare Carry, and of course there's other versions as well. So the nice thing about that is it really provides you a nice curved surface, so when you're carrying this on your waist, you don't have any sharp corners that can possibly get up against your body and dig in and make that uncomfortable. The other nice thing about it is the curved surface really provides a more concealable gun that doesn't print, particularly if you bend over it. It's pressing against your shirt. You're not going to see any sharp edges. So that's something that's nice. Go ahead and take a look at the rear mainspring housing there. You'll see a very nice texture there, stippling that they have there, as well as on the front of the grip. Nice checkering there. Gives you very good purchase to the gun. Now, the gun is an ambidextrous safety, one on this side and, of course, the other side. That's up for debate on what your preference is there. I'm not really got a preference one way or the other. I would say if I had a choice, I would probably rather it not be ambi, but it's not that big a deal to me. Let's go on up to the slide and talk about that, because that's really where you start to pick up some detail on this vehicle, on this very, very impressive gun. If you'll notice here, you have serrations on the front and the back, and they're unique. They're very different. They're non-traditional. They call this a fish scale serration. And what I like about it, it adds a lot of beauty and a lot of contrast to the gun. But the other thing it does is it really, when you want to get a good purchase on that slide, it gives you a great amount of traction. And you need that because this gun has a full-length guide rod and spring, so it's very stiff and tight. You're going to have to put some effort into it, and you want to be able to have some surface there to do that with. Again, Smith & Wesson puts their information there on that side of the slide. Now then, let's go take a look at the top of the slide. You'll notice that kind of the same characteristics. You've got a vertical serration going across the length of the top of the slide. Well, while that adds a certain amount of sexiness to the gun, it's really more about function. The serrations here on the top of this slide are designed to prevent glare from coming up and hitting you in the face, so it really reduces that. Since we're sitting here on the top of the slide, let's talk about the sights. And they're good ones. They're fully adjustable, traditional 3-dot night sights. These are Trigicon night sights, and they work very well. They're very easy to pick up, and I'm very pleased with it. Serrations are also here on the very back of the slide, as well as the top of the skeletonized trigger. Now, this really, again, is a part of the function when you're talking about reduced glare. So it all works in conjunction with each other. Now, one of the nicest things about this gun to me is this trigger. Now, who doesn't love a trigger on a 1911? They're great to begin with just by their simple design. But for me, they rate this at about a 4.5 to 5 pound. I would say closer to 4 pounds. The trigger is very light, very crisp, very predictable. For me, that translates into a gun that's a shooter's gun that you can go to the range and really put through its paces and have fun and enjoy. And in having something that's so predictable, so consistent, it doesn't have a lot of play or lag in it, a trigger that's really going to help you maintain and gain a lot of accuracy. Now, what have we not talked about on this gun that I think is worthy of mentioning? Some people may or may not like this. It does have an external extractor. I've had no problems with it. It works great. It does have an oversized, what they call a combat ejection port. So when your spent brass comes out of this, it's going to throw it way up and over and really get it back out of the way. And again, the gun just functions flawlessly, if I can talk about that. I've fed a lot of ammo through this gun, about 600 rounds, mostly factory ammo. Winchester white box, Federal, just cheap Federal full metal jacket, 230 grain. Is there any other kind? And even a lot of hand loads that I loaded myself, and it chewed it up like candy. Even put some Plus P 255 grain buffalo bore right there. Again, functioned great. So it's a lighter gun. Let's talk about how it manages recoil for a minute. It is a 45. When you shoot this gun, you're going to know that you're shooting a 45. But I got to tell you, the balance and the weight of this gun really work well together. If you grip this gun properly and you're good in your fundamentals, you're going to have a great amount of success managing the recoil on this gun. This is a gun that I'm comfortable going to the gun range and putting a couple of hundred rounds through and not being too worse for wear. Again, is it different than shooting a 380 or a 9mm? You bet it is. But the weight of the gun, the balance of the gun, the way it's designed, the full-length guide rod and the stiffness in the slide, it manages the recoil very well, and you can get great accuracy with this gun. Again, this gun is going to shoot more accurate than you're ever going to be able to shoot, and that certainly held true for me. Now, the thing that really impresses me, too, about this gun is the fit and finish of the gun. Again, this is a production gun, but it is a premium gun, so you're going to be shopping this against a Kimber, possibly some of your nicer Colts or a nicer SIG or a nicer Springfield. This gun will run you about $1,200 to $1,400, depending on where you find it. And I'll tell you this, the gun is not as easy to come by just walking into your normal run-of-the-mill gun shops as, say, a Kimber or a SIG. They're a little harder to find. I don't know if that's by design, but this gun stays on back order a lot. Even if you go to Bud's Gun Shop and some of the larger places, you'll have a hard time finding it in stock. I found mine through an online dealer on Gunbroker, and I bought it brand new, and I paid just north of $1,200 for this gun, which I thought to be a fair price for it. And I've had it now about 2 months, and I just couldn't be more pleased with it. But getting back to the details and the fit and finish of this gun, one of the things I look for in a 1911 when you're talking fit and finish is when I pick that gun up and I move it around like that, shake it back and forth, am I hearing any rattles and shakes? And then on some of your cheaper 1911s you will hear a little bit because, you know, the tolerances and the fit and finish is maybe not quite as what it could be. So while this may not be a hand finished gun, it really has a lot of the attributes of some of your higher-end guns in that category. One of the places I always seem to notice it is in the slide, and you can see it's really, if I really put my hand into it, you can get a little wiggle out of it. But even in the beaver tail area, you don't hear it back here, mainspring housing. I mean, the gun absolutely is built like a rock. I've had only one malfunction with the gun. It was with a hand load, and after inspecting the load, it really wasn't the fault of the gun so much as I had a crimp on the side of the casing when I loaded it that I didn't catch, that I really didn't get the bullet seated in properly, so it just didn't feed properly. So again, no fault of the gun. So there it is, the Smith & Wesson 1911 SCE series. If you're looking for something that not everybody has, and you really, let's face it, if you're buying a gun in this price band, part of the reason you're buying it is because you want something that looks nice. And boy, does this one look nice. I love it. I think when you buy it and you shoot it, you'll love it too. Thank you for listening. God bless America. God bless you for believing in our Second Amendment rights so that we can do the things we do and have the liberties we have. Shed 41. Thanks a lot.